Okay. Well, welcome everybody. This is our second quarterly portfolio training for this year. Jenna and I, have decided to host these Davis County 4-H portfolio training nights because we just recognize that there are many different opportunities to put together a portfolio, and we recognize the need that we all have to strengthen our skills of writing cover letters and resumes, which are what the 4-H portfolios are. And so we just wanted to kind of review about what we went over last time. Last time we got together, which was back in January, we talked about what a 4-H portfolio is and how to get it started. And so we, if I share my screen quickly, this is the, can you see the right screen? Are you seeing the Utah State? Okay, good. So this is the website that we used as our training background. This is the Utah State University Utah 4-H Extension website, and it specifically has a link for 4-H portfolios, which is a little description of resumes and cover letters, and then some activities down here to help you either see samples or to have a little activity that helps you prepare to put your resume together so it doesn't feel like you're tackling the whole world at once. We also understand that in 4-H, you change your activities, you change your skills all the time. You're always improving, always making the best better. And the 4-H portfolio is something that you can work on throughout the year and not just at the end of the year to see how you're improving and to be able to have good record keeping skills. And so that was probably the biggest question we had last time we had this portfolio was, what's the point? Why do we need to put these portfolios together? And so today we'll talk a little bit about upcoming events that we have where portfolios will be needed, and then just the overall value of portfolios. So today we have Kelsey Romney. She works up at the state level of 4-H and is here to help us see, maybe broaden our scope of the value of portfolios. And then we also have Kirsten. Kirsten is one of our 4-H in Davis County, and she just recently participated in the state 4-H portfolio contest back in February. And so we asked if she would share a little bit about her experiences participating in that contest and writing her portfolio. So Jenna, is there anything that you would like to share or say?
Nope, I think you just about covered all of it.
Okay, awesome. So we hope to have this meeting be about at the most 45 minutes. We value your time and ours as well. And so we'll turn the time over first to Kirsten to talk about what it was like to participate in the state portfolio contest. And then after that, we'll let Kelsey go.
So it was, can you guys hear me all right? Okay. So it was sort of I want to say difficult, but it was actually pretty easy. I did the portfolio contest before they changed it to the resume and cover letter. And you had to write down everything you did and how many hours you did it and all of that. And it was really hard. So this was pretty easy. So a few tips. First, write your resume into chunks. Like I did 4-H activities, leadership opportunities, stuff like that. Another good tip is to, whenever you do something with 4-H, write down what you did and how many hours you did or how many people you served, because people judging these really like numbers. So, and then when writing a cover letter, it's always a good idea to make sure that it has good grammar and stuff like that. So maybe have a few people read through it a couple times, or read it out loud to yourself, or something that I like to do is to copy it and then paste it into Google Translate and listen to her talk taught through it, because science has proven that our brains register mistakes more when we hear it and not when we read it. So a few things that I like about 4-H portfolios is that you can add on to the portfolio every year, so you can see how you grow. And having all the info in one place is really helpful, because then you can look through it, look back on it, and you can use it for job interviews or scholarships and just stuff like that. So yeah, so portfolios.
That was awesome. That was great. That was perfect advice. Are we good? Do you want me to keep going? Do we want to open for questions right now, or do we want to just go right into my part?
If anyone has questions for Kirsten, you can either put them in the chat and I can read them out loud, or you can ask her just by unmuting.
I have a question.
Go for it.
So is the portfolio strictly for 4-H, or can you have other stuff besides 4-H stuff in the portfolio?
So I put some stuff that I didn't have for 4-H. Like I talked about plays that I was in. I didn't put as much info as I did with the 4-H, but yes, there was a section for stuff that wasn't specifically 4-H.
And I can add to that. You definitely can include things that are not part of 4-H, but the majority of the content, just like Kirsten said, should be 4-H. So you should probably have just a designated section for non-4-H activities.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, I'll go ahead and get started if that's okay, but feel free to interrupt me anytime if you have questions. Is it okay if I share my screen?
Did that let you?
Yes, we're good. Okay, hey everybody. Okay, so like I said, my name is Kelsey Romney. I'm from the State 4-H office, and I'm over college and career readiness. I've been working for Utah State for about 7 years, and I am just so passionate about helping kids find something that they enjoy, that they can study, and that they can have a career in that's related to something they learned in 4-H. I just think that's the coolest thing. And from my 4-H experience growing up, I can tell you, obviously, it relates very closely to what I do today. And I absolutely am so passionate about it and excited to be here tonight. So as you all know, we're talking about 4-H portfolios. And 4-H portfolios, like we have already said, are the combination of a cover letter and resume. So you're probably wondering, or maybe you haven't noticed, that I'm actually wearing a mustache. And the reason I'm wearing a mustache is because I must ask you a couple of questions. And bear with me, I'll get cooler throughout this interview. So if you can, if you're comfortable with it, turn on your screens and switch to gallery mode so that we can see each other, so that we can be a little bit interactive during this Zoom meeting, because I'm sure that through 2020, you are so sick of being on Zoom meetings. So if you can, switch to gallery mode and flip on those cameras if you're comfortable with it. It should be a view option. If you're on an iPad, you have to tap the screen and then you can see it better. There you go. Okay, so this is what we're gonna do. I'm just gonna ask you a couple of questions. So the first one is, if you have written a cover letter and resume ever in your life, raise 2 hands. If you've never started one, just raise 1 hand. 1 hand or 2 hands? Okay, it looks like we got a mixed group here. Okay, how many of you think that writing a cover letter and resume is fun? Like you just can't wait to do it? 1 hand for yes, 2 hands for no. 1 hand for yes, 2 hands for no. Okay, I'm with Bailey. kind of fun, but not really my thing. If I could go ride my horse or I could go play with my family outside, that's probably what I would do instead of write a resume and cover letter. So next question is, how useful is a resume and cover letter? This is what we're going to do. Put your hand up, 1 through 5. 5 means it's very, very useful. 0 means it's not useful at all. So on a scale of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, how useful is it to have a cover letter and resume? Kirsten's got a 10. That's an overachiever. Okay, awesome. All right, so that's exactly what my point is. I'm gonna switch to no mustache. Back, here we go. And I'm gonna share my screen again. So that's exactly right. It might not be the most fun thing to write a cover letter and resume, but we can all agree it's extremely useful. And these are the results just from this year's state contest. You can see that 98% of people who participated in the contest plan on using their skills for job applications. 96 plan on using those skills to apply for scholarships. 81% intend to use the skills they learned to apply for leadership positions, probably in 4-H and elsewhere. And 93% of them agreed to use those skills to apply for college. So these are some really important numbers because these are your peers. These are people just like you in 4-H who are finding this program really, really useful to them. From a 4-H perspective, there are other reasons that you want to write a portfolio that happen to affect you right now. And that is that they're the standard application for state and regional leadership roles like state ambassador, region ambassador, things like that. They're the standard application for National 4-H Conference. They're the standard application for county awards nights and portfolio contests, of course, the state ambassador, like I just said, and obviously the state portfolio contest. So there's reasons in 4-H that you also want to do this. There also might be reasons on the county level that are more specific just to Davis County as well. Okay, so now I want to do a little activity with you. If you have one at home and can pull out a piece of paper handy to write on, that's great. If you're on the go, no problem, that's totally fine. I'm going to switch back to speaker view so that you can see me better. If you can switch back to speaker view so that I'm the biggest thing that you can see right now, that will help. So on that piece of paper, if you have one, if you don't have one, you can just think this through in your mind. But I want you to write down what 4-H projects are you in and how long have you been in them? Let me get that to focus. Keeps trying to find my face. Okay, so what 4-H projects are you in or what have you ever participated in at all? Write those down and write the year that you started if you can remember. If you can't remember, just eyeball it. Try to guess. Okay, I'll give you about 30 seconds for that. Okay, so the next one I want you to write down or think about is, oh, am I echoing somewhere? Okay, the next one is this. Write down 3 4-H activities or experiences that you have done. Try to think of what those experiences, activities could be. This could be something like horse camp. It could be I4H. It could be teen winter retreat. It could be a camp you went to. It could be club meetings. Think about that for just a minute. And I'm going to skip the elevator music this time so I don't get an echo when I come back. Okay. All right. Next one is think of a time when you accomplished a goal. This can be something really big or really small. If you're in the horse program, it could be something like I won, oh, come on, focus. It could be something like I won judged events overall for a year, throughout the year. or it could be something like I earned my first blue ribbon. Just think of something like that. It could be something a little bit smaller too, something that you set out to do yourself and accomplished. Okay. Okay, next one. I want you to think about a time when you have been a good leader. This can be something where you held a formal position like club secretary or club treasurer or pledge specialist or something along those lines, or it could be just a time when you helped someone else out. Okay, try to write something like that down. Okay, the next one is, how do you make your community a better place? Think about any community service that you have ever done. This could be something like helping paint the bleachers. It could be picking up garbage around the fairgrounds. It could be staying late to pick up after a club meeting. Any of those things. Okay, so the reason that I asked those things is because, let me pull this up. All of those things are big chunks that Kirsten was mentioning of your resume. And something that's important is that we have tools for you on our 4-H website, and they're templates and they're available everywhere. And I'm pulling this one up and I'm wearing a pirate's filter now because I want you to steal these. Feel free to take them, adopt them, make them your own. Okay, so jump on, see what fits, take what you like and leave the rest. That's totally fine. But this template is on Google Drive, and there are a whole bunch of templates out there. There's templates in Word, there's templates on Google Drive. This one's tailored specifically to a 4-H resume, so you can use that. But you're welcome to fill out all of those things. So everything that you just wrote down or thought of as we went through these yellow cards helps you to fill out each one of these different points. If you already have a resume that you've created, something that's important to think about is that to make sure that you're adding in these skills and knowledge that you have learned through these project areas. Okay, so that's kind of a little bit more advanced tip. So if you've already have that established and you have this club title and this club project already going, that's something to be thinking about. These skills, and this again doesn't have to be this format, but the content is really important. These skills are things that are more like a hard skill. So that's something like learning about feed rations or learning about aerodynamics, right? Things that are very specific to your project area. Something that's also helpful to think about are more general soft skills. So think about things that are more like leadership or hard work or work ethic, integrity, responsibility, things like that, that you can back up with this experience over here, okay? So for example, say that you are a club secretary, you learned how to take records, you learned how to keep meeting notes, all those things. Those are hard skills, and that's great. Soft skills that you learn from that experience are having an excellent planning. You're great at organizing team events, for example. Okay, so those are just some tips if you kind of already have those sections established. So let me see here. Okay, let's see. Let's move on to our next slide. Okay, so these are some of the main basics that you want to keep in mind when you're putting together a resume. So the resume should represent a cumulative summary of your background and all of those skills and accomplishments that we were just talking about. When I say cumulative, I mean that includes everything you've ever done. So it can be beyond the last couple of years. I would say that your content will probably be more focused towards the most recent years, because you'll notice that as you go through 4-H or as you go through a job, you get more and more experience that you can put down on your resume, and you start eliminating those older experiences. You want to hang on to the important ones, and by the end of your 4-H career, you're going to have everything on there that is packs a punch. Every word is going to be really important and really impactful rather than just cramming it full of different things. Also, you should summarize your 4-H experience by highlighting your project involvement. This goes back to these cards. Your project involvement, your 4-H activities, your awards and recognition, leadership experience, and community service. And something that's important to know is that each one of those sections is actually weighted a little bit differently. So your project involvement and leadership are weighted much more heavily than your awards and recognition and your community service. So as you're compiling your resume, you want to make sure to focus on those big point project areas and put more content there. Also, just like we've said, you want to be updating that information each year. And you want to make sure that you clearly identify which part is 4-H and which part is non-4-H. The style of it is completely up to you. You can have different colors on it. You can have bold font, italicized font. Any type of formatting is up to you. That goes back to those formats I was just showing you that are templates, and you're welcome to use whichever you want and adapt them. Also, it should include your contact information, your county, school grade, and year in 4-H, and you have a maximum of 2 pages. Now, just like I said before, that means that you want to have each piece represent something really important. You don't want to just cram every single thing that you've ever done on a piece of paper. You want to summarize it, and it's okay to leave a little bit of white space so that it's easy for an employer to read and see those big, important, big ticket items. Okay, so I have a question now for all of you. As we were going through these cards, I'm going to stop sharing here. So as we're going through each one of these cards, I want to know what is it that you found almost difficult to come up with for each section. So we're in the construction mode right now, all right? So which part of those pieces of these cards were the most difficult section for you to come up with? Would anyone be willing to share? You're welcome to unmute, or you can, the chat is probably not going to be the best spot, but you can unmute if you're willing to share.
Kelsey, I've got the chat open and I'll watch it for you.
Oh, perfect. Or you can drop it in the chat. Okay, no worries if you're not ready to share. I'd be happy to share with you from my experience. And I can tell you that, oh.
I think we had someone raising their hand.
Oh, go ahead.
I don't know your name, but you have your name on here as iPhone. You have blonde hair. Were you raising your hand to share? Maybe not. Anyway, thought I saw her hand up.
No worries, that's okay. Okay, so I'll just tell you from my personal experience. I can tell you that the community service was something that I saw, oh, I actually need to do a little bit of work on that, and look for opportunities that are related to community service that I can add to my resume later on. Something else that I've seen before is that people will go through and they'll list out a whole bunch of things, but they'll say, oh, you know what? I've really only done one project area, and that's okay. But that means that I need to look for some more leadership opportunities in that area. So, oh, thanks, Bailey. So that is something that I have seen before too, is that they say, okay, well, I focus so much on achieving these goals and these awards that maybe I haven't focused as much on the leadership aspect. So think about this as you go through each one of those sections and say, okay, what goals can I set for myself that will help add more content to my resume moving forward? That makes it a really good tool for you to kind of shape your own future, right? You can look at it and say, okay, where am I headed? And that means I need more experience here, here, and here, okay? Okay, let me go back to here. All right, so this is kind of some things that we've already talked about, but the resume is a really great place to share your individuality. So this is really you on a page. It should be a professional version of yourself on the page. And that means that you can, like we've already said, you can change up the color, you can change out the outline, and each one of these things that are listed below are found on our website under the guidebook. And this kind of helps you get a better idea of what content to put under each one of those sections if you need a little bit more help with that. Okay, here's just a couple sample 4-H resumes. This is actually from 2019. And these are great examples of different types and different ages. So if you're brand new, it's okay to only have a few things listed. If you can kind of see this, I'll zoom in a little bit here. So if you can kind of see this person is listed off just their clubs that they've been involved with, and that's really great. They've only listed a few things underneath each one, and that's totally fine. They're probably more like a junior age group. And this one is an intermediate. You can see they start adding a little bit more content here and there. As we get into the seniors, these are two different types. This is kind of like a person who's been in a bunch of livestock and leadership positions. And you can see that they have more content. I will say this is probably where it starts to get a little bit challenging because you have so much experience by this time that you actually need to start eliminating some of those things and combining your accomplishments. So you need to start saying like, I did this from this year to that year. I attended JYC, Junior Youth Conference, from this year to that year, instead of listing 2018, 2019, 2020 on all those different lines. You can combine it with just one date. So that's something to think about. One thing to notice that's also a good tip on these sample resumes is that you can see they've all made really good use of leaving that white space that I was talking about because it draws your eye straight to bold or colored text so that you can say, oh, this person has done 4-H project involvement. And I can see that they did lamb, turkey, STEM, and leadership. So if I were hiring this person and I knew exactly what I needed in the position, it would be really easy for me to just go boom and see it. And automatically I would say, oh, that's the person I'm looking for because those are the skills that they have that I need. Okay. So we have one more thing here, which is a really cool resource for you, and that is our record keeping resources on our website. So I'm going to show you here on our portfolio page. So if you scroll down, we have these record keeping resources, and you can download them in PDFs, you can download them in Word, you can download them in Google Docs, and all of them have, get it to open. They all have unique sections and spreadsheets that help you just keep record of what you've done. I always use this as the accountant analogy. So if an accountant were applying for a new job, they wouldn't bring in every financial record they have. They would just bring in their resume and cover letter, but they have all these records that they've kept so that they can summarize their accomplishments. You want to be your own accountant. You want to keep record of everything you've done and not have to sit down and say, oh my gosh, it's time for me to write a resume. What have I done my whole life, right? So you want to sit down and have this stuff ready to go. That's really helpful. And we have it in so many project areas. You can see childcare, citizenship, communication, dog, food, gardening, horse, leadership, all these different ones that you can use. Okay, so that is the end of our resume discussion. We're going to go into the cover letter section now. But before we do, I just wanted to know if anyone has any questions. Does anyone have any questions right now?
Kelsey, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Are you going to be going through the judging rubrics with
Yes.
this? Okay.
Yep.
So I was just going back to when you said that different portions were weighted differently. If you were going to
Yes.
expound on that a little bit.
Yep, I definitely can. Yep.
Perfect.
Okay. All right, I'm not watching the chat, so if we need anything there. Okay, perfect. See the link there. Okay, awesome. Okay, so we'll go on to this next one here. So let's talk about the cover letter. The cover letter should be a narrative to accompany your resume. So it basically fills in the gaps that you might have left, or it tells the story of your resume. So you don't want to just sit down and repeat every single thing that you just said on your resume because they already can see that. There's some interesting statistics about cover letters. They say that actually only about 50% of employers read a cover letter. But of the 50% who do read it, they value the cover letter even more greatly than the resume. So you want to make sure that this is written very well. And just like Kirsten said, you want to have somebody review it. So it needs to be Also, it needs to be tailored to the position. And in 4-H, we replicate that by saying it needs to follow cover letter objectives. So this is our 4-H portfolio webpage, and that's the link that Jenna just posted in the chat. And if you scroll down, these are the cover letter objectives for the state events. There may be different ones for your county, depending on what you have throughout the year. But I'll just show you for our state events. For example, you can click on one, and it will show you these are the objectives that you need to address in your cover letter. And what I like to do is it's very, very easy to make a paragraph dedicated to each objective. There's always only 4 in 4-H, but it's just like when you're writing any essay in school and you go through and you say, okay, what are they looking for? What are the main key points? And you might underline those big words that you know they're looking for. It's the same thing with a cover letter objective. You want to sit down and say, okay, I need to write out all of these things and how my resume answers these questions. Okay. So the other part is that you need to make sure that it's tailored. Like I said, make sure it's tailored to those specific objectives and responsibilities. You want to be able to say, these are the skills I have because of these experiences, and I'm going to put it in this explanation on my cover letter. And this should be a maximum of only 1 page. So where the resume you had 2 pages, the cover letter you only have 1. Okay, I'm going to skip that one. So this is, let me zoom out here a little bit too. Okay, so on a cover letter, this is a cover letter template or example, and this is how it should be laid out. Okay, so you have the address of the person that you are sending it to in the top left right here. You have the date that's right aligned, and then you address it to somebody that you're writing it to. And then at the end, you have your digital signature. Right here, it's blacked out just to remain anonymous, but this is where you would put in your signature. If it's a digital cover letter, you don't need to print it out and sign it and scan it back in. You can just leave your digital signature right there. That's totally appropriate. So something that's important to think about is that you want to maintain professional language throughout a cover letter. It's not a public speech. So if you've done 4-H, sometimes it's easy to sit down and start writing it like you would write a public speech, but it's not quite the same. You want to up it just a little bit more professionally. You want to try to avoid using I, but still emphasize what you know and what you're good at. Something that would be an example of that is instead of saying, I'm trying to think of an example right on the spot. Instead of saying something like, I have done 5 years of cooking in my 4-H club, you could say something like, my experience in 4-H has allowed me to learn X, Y, and Z about high-end cuisine or cooking classes or cooking courses. So that, I don't know if that helps you understand, it kind of flips it so that it's still explaining your experience, but you're not saying, I did this, I did that, I did this. You want to make sure to clearly address each objective like we've just said. And then, like I said before, also, it's the chance to fill in any gaps in the resume. If you think about your resume like the building bricks, this is the mortar that goes in between that to hold it all together. You want to follow that format like we've talked about, and again, have somebody else edit and review it. Okay, so here is the rubric that we have been talking about a little bit and referring to. So as you can see, these are worth different points. So your 4-H project involvement is out of 20 points. So that's a portion you want to make a little bigger. The next one is also 20 points, activities and experiences. Awards and recognition are 10 points. So that one's a smaller section. Leadership experience is 20 points. So that's a bigger section. And community service is 15 points. So that is a medium-sized section. And then non-4-H experiences. So everything that I've said should be 4-H related. And then the non-4-H experiences is only worth 5. So if you have something really notable, feel free to add it right there. Something that's important to note is that your overall formatting is worth 10 points. So you want to make sure that punctuation and grammar is all spot on. And that you list all of the required information that we're talking about: your name, your age, your years in 4-H, your county, those things you want to make sure that you have listed. Okay, the cover letter, each objective is worth 20 points, and the overall formatting is also worth 20 points. So yeah, so that's something that's really important to notice, is that your overall formatting and spelling and punctuation is worth as much as one whole objective. Okay. And the reason we did that is because, just like I said before, if people are reading through your cover letter and you're in a competitive pool of applicants that you need to stand out in front of, if you have any grammatical errors, they're probably going to move right on to the next one. So it's really important to make sure that that is spot on and perfect. Okay, if you enter the state 4-H portfolio contest, this is something that you would be receiving back. So all this stuff down here in the yellow is feedback from judges. So it's kind of nice to enter that contest because you get all of this information sent back to you so that you know which parts to work on, and which parts maybe you need a little bit of improvement on. We also have, and I'm not sure if they shared that in the chat as well, but we also have those a template for the cover letter that can be found on Google Drive as well. And what's nice about this is that it has it right there ready for you to do it. You just replace the words that it's asking you to replace in green, and you can download it and print it and or submit it digitally. So that's another tool that is very helpful for you. Okay, so let's go over what skills you have learned. Let me get on another filter so that you guys can laugh at me while we do it here. So let's talk about these skills. We have talked about record keeping, we've talked about career readiness, and we've talked about goal achievement. When we think about these different things, they're actually really, really important life skills that can be kind of magical, if you will, as you go through your life after 4-H, okay? This is getting you ready. There are so many adults and students who are in college right now, ready to graduate, who don't know how to write a cover letter and resume. So you guys are miles ahead just by coming to this tonight and practicing it throughout your 4-H experience. If you have all of these skills ready to go, you're going to be able to do things that are much more difficult than writing a cover letter and resume. If you learn how to keep your records, it's going to help you financially. It's going to help you achieve new goals. It's going to help you put these documents together, and as you continue to achieve new things. The career readiness standpoint, we have a whole bunch of other activities and skills that you can learn from our website. If you're interested, please let us know. But the resume and cover letter is really the stepping stone that kind of connects your whole 4-H experience to the future. It's helping you sit down and say, okay, what opportunities do I need to be looking for that are related to post-secondary education, meaning college or a trade school or anything like that, that's going to get you to the next step in a career that you enjoy and love. And then the last part is that goal achievement. It's great. Look back and see what you've done. If you sit down and write a cover letter and resume, that's something to celebrate. You can sit down and say, wow, I did all of these things. I can tell you that even as adults, you'll sit down and say, wow, I am so impressed with what I did as an adult or as a youth or as a teen. But it's also a moment that you can reflect on what you've done so far and say, okay, what can I do to improve my stepping stones to where I want to get to? What content do I need to add to this resume, and what opportunities are there in the upcoming year? So that's something that you can look for as you go through this experience. Okay. Okay, and just like Jenna posted in the chat, we have a whole bunch of information on the portfolio webpage as well. So does anyone have any questions for me that I can help answer with about resumes and cover letters? Okay. Well, if there aren't any questions, is there anyone typing in the chat that you guys can see? Are we good? Okay. Okay, well, I appreciate you guys listening tonight, and thank you so much for coming. And please let me know if you have any questions at all. You guys are welcome to post my email in the chat. I'm more than happy to help you with anything that you have. If you have any questions about your cover letter or resume, feel free to send them to me, and I would be more than happy to help you out. And I think that is it for me. Do you have any other things, Jenna?
Just a couple of things. First of all, thank you, Kelsey, for agreeing to do this training for us. I know you came last year. I can't even believe
Yeah.
it, like back in February, and did this in person. So I was very grateful that you were willing to come and do it on Zoom. This change that we've made from the binder format to the cover letter and resume format, I love it. I think that it is amazing. And as we've gone through it, the feedback that I'm getting from a lot of the parents and a lot of our youth members is that it is so much less time intensive, and so much more applicable. Like you said, this is a skill that as an adult, I wish that I had had as a youth, because you know, when you go to apply for a job in your mid 30s and you're like, wait, I have to write a cover letter and a resume. I haven't done that, you know. So it's awesome. I really applaud the 4-H program for implementing this, because it does set us up for success. And so thank you for being willing to do this. And Bailey just wanted me to mention, she had to step out, but this, okay, let me find it. In July of this year, Bailey will be accepting portfolio submissions for new applicants for our Davis County project ambassadors, and for teen council members. So like Kelsey was telling us, this cover letter and resume portfolio, we are going to be using them for all types of leadership positions and for contests. So I would just suggest to everyone to use the opportunities to practice your portfolio as much as possible. Submit a portfolio to the state contest. The state horse show uses them, the state turkey show, the state turkey show. So any opportunity that you have, submit your portfolio and get that feedback from those judges so that you can refine it and fine tune it. And if you're submitting a portfolio for a contest specifically, send it to your club leaders, send it to us, your county coordinators. We are more than happy to help you go through it and make it as best as possible. So thank you all for coming. And unless you have any more questions, we will go ahead and end this training. Okay.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. It was great to be here.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kelsey. Okay. All right, you guys. Well, thanks for joining us, and hopefully we'll be seeing portfolios from you soon. Bye, everyone.